energy in my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, I don't know where to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another outstanding episode of the Fangs Out video / podcast / vlog / whatever I feel like it being at this particular point in time. Today I am joined with a good friend of mine, mentor, Professor Kaelum Kalista of Team Kalista Jujitsu and Martial Arts here in Hinesville, Georgia, also in the Dominican Republic, right, Kaelum?
Yep.
And little background about this man. Not only does he have some of the most beautiful ears you'll ever see in your entire life, he is an IBJJF champion. Now, what for the uninformed, that is the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, which is arguably one of the top standards for competitive jiu-jitsu in the world today. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is the fine art of the struggle snuggle. If you didn't know that,
I like that.
It
needs to be a shirt.
It does, man. It does. Have it as your next Team Kalista.
Might do
Throw
that.
it on the back, man. Yeah, but he's a very successful businessman, entrepreneur. He's outstanding at marketing himself. He's in incredible shape, if you can't tell from the way he looks. He's been a staple in this community as far as martial arts goes for a really long time. You've been training jiu-jitsu now for how long, Kaelum?
I'm going on 15 years now.
15 years in the game. And for those of you that don't particularly understand what that actually means, most of you probably didn't become like actual fans of the UFC until well into its inception, right? So probably like the late 2010, early like 2011 to 2015 is when most people really started to get involved with martial arts, which means about 4 or 5 years prior to that, this man was out here figuring the game out, killing it with my coach, Brett Coleman, and a few other fine gentlemen here in Southeast Georgia. With that being said, man, Kaelum, how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. It's a pleasure to be on here.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your time. I know you've got a pretty busy schedule. You just had a guy compete last night, Dustin Hawkins, a good friend of mine, man. And one of the reasons that I wanted to pull you onto the podcast and why I'm really excited is because I wanted to pick your mind about training, right? Because whenever I talk about training or you talk about training, we probably have a different opinion on it from most people. And I wanted you to kind of articulate the translation between training and actual life, right? Like, so this is one thing that I think about on a pretty regular basis, right? Whereas when we're doing anything, we're doing everything, right? That old saying, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Sure.
That's, to me, one of the most important things to master in life, because when you can add that kind of consistency into your life is when you can really start making strides in like your personal and physical growth, right? So I kind of wanted to know how you like took Dustin, right? He's always been a really good fighter. He's always been a really gritty guy. He's skilled. He is what I would like to refer to as a dedicated practitioner of the savage sciences.
Sure.
And
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
He definitely, he's grown a lot since he's been with you guys. And I kind of wanted just an idea of your program, obviously not the inner workings and everything, but what are some key concepts that you try to shoot home with your students whenever you're training with them?
Well, my father told me at a young age that no matter what it is you do in life, if you treat it like a business, it'll be good to you. You know what I'm saying?
That.
So, I mean, that reflects on anything that I do. So, like I told Dustin, I'm not a fan of really getting back into the MMA game and stuff, but he really wanted to do it. So if he was going to do it, I wanted him to do it right. And I wasn't going to send him somewhere else that I don't know what's going on and stuff like that. You know, he's like I always say to my students, what makes us different than a lot of the teams around the area is a lot of the other places are teams. We're a family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love my students, generally do. You know what I mean? And like Dustin, he's like my family. He is my family, you know? So if he was going to venture into this MMA thing, I wanted to, you know, go all hands with him, you know? And I mean, Dustin's a hard worker, man. You know, it's like he's one of those students that I don't. I like to say I don't like to motivate because I never had to be motivated. You know, you can ask Brent and them guys like that. I mean, I spent years going over there with Brent, getting my butt handed to me. You know, I mean, every single day, and I kept coming back for more and coming back for more. You know, and it was times when Brent was trained. He was trained in one place. I want to say it was over there in Douglas or whatnot. But no, it wasn't Douglas. It was Hazelhurst, I think. And it might have been me, my oldest son, him, and a couple other people, Wiggins, like them, the old crew, you know what I mean, and stuff. And it was just basically me and Brent rolling together and me getting smashed out of 10 rolls, you know what I mean? But it improved me a lot. So like I say, nobody had to call me and say, you know, hey, Kaelum, are you coming to class today? You know, hey, Kaelum, you know, we need you to work harder. I was there. I mean, my ear would be blown up the size of a softball. I'd still be in there training. So that's kind of what I try to preach to my guys. But it's different in the sense that, you know, in the Dominican, I had a competition-based academy only. If you didn't want to compete, don't come in the door. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's all I cared about. Well, here I've treated this more as, you know, like, I'm kind of veering off subject here,
no,
but
you're good.
I recently read Rickson's book, Breathe. Have you read it?
Yeah, I love
Wonderful
it.
book.
It's a really good book.
It was a big change to me in the sense that he mentions a thing that modern day jiu-jitsu schools now, let's say, you know, jiu-jitsu was invented for the weaker person, you know, the person being bullied and having self-confidence issues and things to be able to come and learn something, to be able to protect themselves or gain that confidence. Well, I thought about it. If a person walked into my door now, they would see muscle-bound guys in fit condition with cauliflower ears.
Yes.
And they'd probably turn around and they'd walk right out because they look like the guys who are bullying them.
Right.
You know? So it made me rethink a lot. Also, he talks about in his book about the average competitive purple belt now would probably lose a street fight. You know
Agreed.
what I mean?
100% agreed.
So I am trying to balance between having a competitive academy and being able to, like I say, help everybody that, you know, whatever they want out of it, you know. Right. I was going around my students one time and I started asking everybody, you know, like when they're in line, what do you want to get out of jiu-jitsu? And I had a few people say, I want to be a world champion. I want this, I want that. But this one kid, he says to me, he says, I want to learn to start sticking up for myself.
Man, that's it.
When he said that, man, literally, I wanted to hear everybody tell me they want to be a world champion. But when he said that, this is a grown man in the military and stuff like this. And when he said that, it really rung to me that I'm over here and I'm teaching him how to pass De La Riva guard, how to pass spider guard, you know, things like this, that I really needed to revamp a lot of stuff and be able to help that person, you know? Right. So that was a big thing. Kind of like I said, I kind of veered off topic.
No, man, that's perfect. No, see, that's perfect because one of my biggest and most core beliefs is everything is connected in some way, shape, and form, right? So to break into one of my personal favorite hobbies, which is the study of quantum physics. Are you familiar with quantum physics?
I get down the rabbit holes quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
See, it's that's my inner conspiracy theorist in life. That's
Lex
my
McMahon and all that.
Yes, dude. Yeah. So one of the core beliefs behind quantum physics is that energy, there's no new energy that's put into this world. There's nothing new in this world right now, and that's true because everything that is and everything that ever will be comes from what was, right? And depending on what your particular belief is, this world is either 2021 years old or like 5 million years old, right? So you're telling me that from the perspective of 5 million years, all energy hasn't passed through each other at some point in time, especially on this planet particularly. I find that to be a stretch. So with all of that being said, man, everything's connected in some way, shape, or form. And one of the ways that I'm really glad that you brought this up particularly is talking about what different people want out of this, right? Yeah. And how you have modeled your business around that multi-perspective need in your community, you know? One of the things that I love most about that is specialists are for insects. Quote Tim Ferris on that one. Insects have to specialize in specific things to survive in this world, right? We are the apex of our environment as of right now, right? We are the most dominant beings on this planet, bar none. With that being said, we have the ability to spread out. We have the ability to specialize in specific things for a little while and then go and find new things to become specialists in, you know, especially the longer lifespans that we're finding in today's society. So when you said that you wanted to make your gym more open to everyone's perspective, that really resonates with me, man. And I really love that. And I'm going to plug him right now, right? Because I really do believe in Kaelum Kalista and how he teaches and the effectiveness of what it is that he's teaching, right? You can't deny that. Between himself, his son, Vance is an incredibly skilled young martial artist. If you don't know who he is, go look him up, Vance Kalista. I have a match against this dude. I'm 200 pounds. Let me explain something to you, right? I'm 200 pounds and I am an educated combatant, right? I'm not the best in the world, but I'm no schlup, right? Vance is, 130 pounds?
123 pounds.
123 pounds. 123.
That's on his best day.
Yeah. And I could not submit this man whenever me and him had our match against each other. I couldn't. I physically could not get him to tap. And I threw everything in the kitchen sink at him at that point in time. I literally tried everything I knew how to do to finish Vance Kalista, and I couldn't. And he's only ever trained with Kaelum, right? So with that being said, if you are in the Hinesville area and you're considering martial arts, man, like the Liberty County area in general, and this is another awesome thing, you just got an award recently for your business here in Hinesville.
Best in Liberty.
Best in Liberty. Could you explain that a little bit?
Well, it's like an award they put out for the best businesses, you know, throughout the year. And we just got it, and we were open at the time, I want to say 9 months.
Right.
We're 9 months new and won Best of Liberty, and we just got nominated for Best of Georgia.
Really?
Yep. So
Dude.
Everybody, please go vote for that, Team Kalista, for Best of Georgia. That'll
Definitely.
be big for us.
I will. I'll leave a link. Can you shoot me a link when we're done? When we're done, by the time everybody here is seeing this, I'll leave a link in the comments below for this, because Kaelum really does deserve it, man. He puts his heart and soul into this stuff, you know, and he really cares, man. And that's the thing that I think is the best way to be a coach, is when you really care about like your students and stuff like that, because I've seen him take people in that he wouldn't know hide nor hair from, and he just invites them into the Kalista family, you know. With that being said, the Kalista family is actually pretty extensive in and of itself, minus the Jujitsu community involved with it. Another thing, man, is I know that you have faced some controversy as far as like being a father, you know, trying to balance your business life and taking on the 4 kids that you have now, you know, and that was a choice for you, right? And I'm not going to dive too deep into that. This is just me plugging your character as like a human being, right? Because I've been a step parent before, you know, and it's tough, man. It's really tough, because there's this certain biological connection that you feel with your own children, because I felt it with my son, you know, where you just feel like this uncontrollable need to take care of them, right? And you felt that towards these kids, and that's awesome, man. And I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate that about you, man, because for me it's motivating, man, you know, because I'm probably never going to achieve half of what you have as a martial artist, to be honest with you, because
you're still young. You don't know.
It's, you know, man, and I tell myself that all the time. And I'd like to really revisit competitive jiu-jitsu in the future, or maybe take a fight. I don't know. Jay just competed yesterday, and he's in his mid to late 30s right now, you know, and he won his match definitively. And you're right. There's still the opportunity. It's just, you know, I try to maintain a more humble perspective when it comes to things, right? Because I don't like to, I have a huge ego issue, right? Like I have to consistently check my ego, right?
It's funny, you bring that up, as we talk about this a lot in my academy, is if you look at some of the greatest guys in jiu-jitsu, and some of the, like when you walk into school, some of the best guys on the mats are guys that pretty much were bullied their whole life,
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to have an ego when you were bullied.
Yes.
It's hard to have an ego when people put you down your whole life and things. So you'll see a guy that'll walk in. I get it a lot here with being in a military town, that I'll get these guys that come in, man, these big muscle-bound guys that probably excelled at everything they ever did in life.
Right.
And then they'll come in here and my 123-pound son runs right through them and beats them. Yes. And they can't accept it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It drives them crazy because they think. So it's like very rare do you find, like I say, athletic guy who is good at everything that just picks up and loves jiu-jitsu and sticks with it, because you have to throw that ego to the side. I mean, you have to, or it'll hinder all of your growth and everything, because you have to embrace the suck, like they say.
Dude.
Like when I think about it, somebody had said to me the other day, just random talk, we were talking about James Finizio over here in Savannah. Right now, I had never trained with James, and I trained pretty much with everybody around here. And somebody said to me, "Man, James is really good. He'd give you a really good match." So, man, first thing I did, I called James, "Hey, can I come up there and train?" You know what I mean? And James, super nice guy, opened his academy to let us have a nice open mat and everything. And the guy is everything people talk about. Really good, really,
for sure, dude.
Really well versed and knowledgeable. I picked up a lot of good techniques going there and all. And that's the way I am. If you tell me there's somebody around here that'll smash you, Kaelum, I'll be there. Because I'll enjoy being smashed, not for an ego. I don't go to these places like hoping to beat these people. I go to these places to get beat, because I feel you learn the most from loss.
Yes.
And that's not even just in jiu-jitsu. I try to reflect that in life as well, Loss teaches us the biggest lessons.
Sure, dude.
We understand it more, we feel it more. So if you base your career, if you base your life and everything only on winning, it's going to be a very, empty life.
For sure, man. And I love that you bring that up, because this is actually something that I am deeply reflecting on here lately, especially in a sense, right? Because I've gone through my fair share of controversy in life. I've had some things that have tried me in some pretty profound manners. And man, it just, whenever I start talking about like personal development through the hardships in your life, it just motivates me so much, because you think of everything that you've come through in your entire life. And if you're listening right now, this is a personal challenge that I give to you right now. Think of every worst moment in your life right now and then smile, because you made it to this point right now. You made it past every horrifying thing that could have happened to you in your whole life, man. And you're here right now, and that's awesome. That is so beautiful, man. And that's really, like, that keeps me going, man, because it's just like, you look at what people are capable of actually getting through, man. You look at how mentally, emotionally, and physically strong some people are, and the things that they have to push through to get to that, man. That's such a beautiful thing. And with all that being said, I have a question for you. This is no right answer to it. This is just something that I'm trying to figure out. What do you think the true opposite of anger is?
True opposite of anger. Wow. Humility, maybe. Maybe being able to turn the other cheek.
Yes.
Well, this is funny you say that, last night we were just in Douglas at this event. My son Vance, like I say, he says 5'7", but I think he's around 5'5".
Probably so. Sorry, Vance.
Yeah. But anyway, like I say, sweetest kid, and he's really been through a lot. Really been through a lot, and he always wound up, coming out on top, I guess, by putting in the hard work. Well, I'm trying, my oldest brother, the one that I got custody of them from, it has always been a hothead. He's in the penitentiary now, and trying to get them to get away from that anger and all of that type stuff and that temper, which I had a temper myself too before jiu-jitsu, that kind of calmed me down. So a good thing happened to us last night that kind of taught him a good lesson. So I was sitting in the car. He was in the store with a friend. And he's just in line. There's a guy, I guess, had been in there drinking. And the guy accused him of bumping into him. and basically, just kind of like called him a punk, and he's just trying to. This is a big, probably 6'3" guy, just so
picking on the little guy.
Vance, he kind of he really took it bothered him a lot. He got back in the car, and the way he's saying it to me, like he's kind of saying it to me like he wants me to like let's go out there and kind of just straighten this guy out type thing. You know what I mean? And like I'm telling him, listen, Vance, I want you to understand. Words mean nothing. You know what I mean? It's took me 42 years to understand that words mean absolutely nothing. A person can call me whatever they want to call me. Putting their hands on you is a different story. You know what I'm saying? But I said, you're a martial artist, okay? You have to be able to rise above that, okay? If you lost your anger, like we're talking about, the complete opposite. So if you lost your anger and you went in there and you confronted that guy or you attacked that guy, either way, in today's society, you're wrong.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to you risk the chance of going to jail. You don't know if this guy has a gun. You don't know what the situation is. And for what? Because he called you a name? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pointless. So I think a big issue that people have now is they're so worried about what people think, so worried about what people say. I mean, look, focus on the small stuff. Like we were talking about, we've got kids, we've got family.
Yes, dude.
You know what I mean? Like
stuff.
Right now, today, Vance is going to go out with some friends, swimming in a pool, having a good time.
That's it.
Now, if he would have done something last night, maybe he's not.
Maybe
you know what I mean?
Maybe
you don't know.
Trays in county. You know what I'm
so
saying?
Humility, it's a big thing. My oldest son and him are completely opposite. If my oldest son would have been in that situation, I would have had to go there and get in a fight with him. You know what I mean? Because he would have already been punching the guy and stuff. So that's like I say. I think that's. I hope that answers your question in the sense, because humility is tough. I mean, it's really tough to turn the other cheek. Believe me, on that whole ride home, I could see his face, and it took a lot for me to, I hope he heard me, but he wanted every bit in him to turn around and punch that guy,
I'm really proud of him, one, for not getting into that altercation, and I love hearing that from you, man, because one thing, I just feel like there's certain things that are more, in today's society, I'm sorry, I know I'm stuttering and I'm talking over myself, but in today's society, we have a moral shift going on right now, which is concerning to me in a respect, because for the longest time, I talked to my sociology professor in college about this, actually. He talks about some of his colleagues have this theory of moral overlays in society, and he talks about the cultural shift from a virtue culture to a victim culture that we have going on right now, because and that hit me hard, man, because you think about where the virtue culture comes from, it's like the 1950s, 60s, stuff like that, that whole little Susie apple pie white picket fence jive, and you think about when it really started to change in the 70s and the 80s into this different, more liberally thinking perspective. And just so I can put this one out now, I do not fall into a conservative or a liberal perspective when it comes to my particular beliefs in life, right? I actually have a weird one, and it's a weird mix of both of them right now. I like to, what I like to do is I like to let things sit in my cauldron, let things sit in the pot and let all the fat burn off and come to the top and scoop it out, and that way what's left is what's good, right? That's what I search for in life. I look for the things that most naturally make people feel happy, the most rewarding things, the highest, what I would refer to as vibrations that you can move with in the world. And one of the things that really concerns me is how little people respect life now, right? People don't look at shooting people the same way that they used to. There's certain people that do, there's certain people that obviously think guns are horrible and need to be, completely banned in general. But when I think about something like life and guns and everything, really, I think that the only thing we really need to do is have a better level of education towards those things, better exposure, because if you look at where most people are getting their moral compasses from now, right? Parents are becoming a lot less hands-on with their kids,
Absolutely.
They're letting society raise their children for them without having the tough conversations with them like you had with Vance last night, you know? That they're not doing those things and being active towards it. And you think about what's being portrayed in society right now, and I'm not talking bad on Vance's taste in music right now by any stretch of the imagination.
You can, though. Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Lil Baby is not the highest moral standard that you want to hold yourself to.
We've had to make that a gym rule. Little Baby gets no play in here.
I'm just saying, man. You know, you think about like what some of these people are talking about, and they talk about some things that aren't really what's the best word I can use to explain this? They're inherently bad things. You know, you talk about demoralizing women, you talk about overindulgence in drugs, alcohol, things of that nature. And me and Nate were actually just talking about this on our way over here. I don't drink, period. Well, okay. The last time I had a Jello shot with my buddy Doug Rizzo. I had a Jello shot with him like 2 months ago at one of our friends' house because
bad example, Doug.
Yeah, Doug is actually the only person I've drank with in the last 3 years, and it is solely him. So I'm actually starting to rethink our friendship here, Dougie. Kidding, love you, buddy. No, but what I'm trying to get to with all of this, man, is there needs to be a stronger example in the world for what good moral standing is than what is portrayed on the grander media scale that we have today, you know. And don't get me wrong, there are some really good voices out there. Some music that I would really recommend anybody listen to in general. Mac Miller is one of them. I love Mac Miller, bro. A lot of the stuff that he does, you know, kind of border on that more vulgar-esque kind of content with some of what he talks about, but it really resonates with a lot of people from my generation, like the early 90s and stuff like that, because he grew up in the same time period that we had, you know. Another huge one, and man, dang it, I can't remember his name. I'll link it into the description below, but me and my sister were talking about it because she has she's a cultural major, right? Afro-American studies is what she's studying right now. So me and her talk about stuff like this all the time because cultural diversity is something that I'm huge about now, right? That's actually another reason that I wanted to get you onto the podcast, man, because you have a boatload of cultural diversity in you, man, going from some extreme differences from what I could imagine in living in Southeast Georgia versus living in the Dominican Republic, man. Tell me a little bit about like some of the huge cultural differences that you guys have, or you've experienced. I'm sorry.
If you don't mind, I want to kind of reiterate on what you were talking about. Because
go ahead. No, for sure.
I agree 100% with what you're saying about culture-wise and the way things are going nowadays. So, like talking about philosophy type things, I get deep in things like this. So, I think to myself a lot. So, like, can a person really appreciate light if they've never lived in darkness, you know? And this is something that I talk about with my students a lot. So like a little bit backstory on me, like both of my parents passed away when I was 14. So I was on my own since 14 years old, you know, had anything that I built that I have now, I built with these two hands. You know what I mean? I put in work, I suffered. The only person I had that could take care of me was a heroin addict brother. You know, that was the worst role model you could possibly imagine. You know what I mean? And this is the one whose 4 kids I ended up adopting. But I think, like I say, me seeing that every day, that being in front of my face, I had 2 options. I can be like that, you know, which a lot of people use. Like we're talking about the modern day culture and stuff. I could glamorize that and say, wow, you know, that's cool to go rob this guy. That's cool to go steal and go do this. Or be completely opposite and choose to not be like that, which is the harder path.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Nobody, when you're at a crossroads and one is a straight path here and this one has a bunch of crooked lines and everything like this, nobody takes that one.
Nope.
You know, but that's the most rewarding. That's the scenic view, I guess you could call it, you know? So like we talk about the almost coddled type generation that we have now, of people, like you say, not taking the time to preach to their kids and say these things. Well, I don't want my son to go to go through the things that I went through. I don't want him to see the things that I had to see, but also too, I want him to. And I want him to kind of make the right decisions for it, because all these things weren't hidden from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I experienced life. You know what I mean? Like, I was telling this story on the way to class. I was broke as a kid, so if I'd come up with $5, I'd go buy some candy bars, stand outside a grocery store and tell them, I'm selling candy bars for my school, turn that $5 into 20, and you know what I mean? I just hustled.
Yes.
I learned to always have that hustle type mentality. Yes. And that's kind of what I think people need to do with their kids, instead of the more coddling type thing. Like, okay, I don't want you to see this. I don't want you to see this. I like more, like I say, it's here. Now, what decision would you make out of that? I'm curious to hear. I think people don't give their kids enough benefit of the doubt to see if they will make the right decision. You know what I mean? Like, kids need to make mistakes.
For sure, dude.
Hey, I've made a ton of them, you know what I mean? And those mistakes have got me where I'm at right now, and learning from those mistakes, and I'm sure I'll make a ton more, you know what I mean? But like I say, that's what I say. I appreciate the light that's around me, because I've spent a lot of my life in dark.
For sure. Man, I'm really glad that you said light, man, because like that's when I started my personal development journey. That was be a light was one of the things that I used to tell myself. I don't know if you've ever seen the whiteboard pictures that I post on social media and stuff like that, but I put different motivational phrases on them from time to time, and for probably a solid 3 or 4 months straight in my kitchen, I had be a light on that whiteboard, and it's something that I just looked at and I thought about every day and how I could do that, man. So I think it's awesome. I think that you've got the right recipe going on right now, the right recipe for success when it comes to it, man. I'll validate you for sure on that one, because I agree with a lot of what you're saying right now, man. And for some reason, man, I can't help but think about like this Wiz Khalifa thing that I read on Facebook at one point in time, and Wiz was talking about don't make a move unless your heart's in it. That was something that's pretty. It sticks with me whenever it comes to decisions, kind of like you're talking about, like moral decisions and stuff like that, because it helps me figure out what's really me, like what good is really me, what good is really me versus what good is something that I just see that I think is good, right? Yeah. Because there have been a lot of times where I've tried to spread myself too thin, where I've tried to put time and energy into the things and people that, they had the best intentions, but they were, it just wasn't. It wasn't giving me the kind of fulfillment that I needed. You're preaching
my life, brother.
Dude,
right there.
For sure, man.
That's funny. It goes back to, we're talking about like the Dominican Republic right there. I hate to say it, but it got to a point that I was beginning to almost hate jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yes. And this is something that's always caused, it's my passion. You know what I mean? It changed me into a better person, a better father, better husband, everything. You know what I mean? But I went into that country with all of these intentions of building an academy and helping kids that were underprivileged, and be able to give them a platform to train and have something. Because I've always believed one of my biggest mottos in life is that idle hands are the devil's tool.
Yes.
If you don't have something for a kid to do, he's going to find trouble. You know what I mean? So I wanted to give this platform to them. I wanted to do all of these great things. I had all these big plans of all these things to do there. And then it just, I don't remember who it was that said it, but I read this quote one time in one of these motivational, I'm like you, I really like to read a lot of motivational type things and stuff.
Heck yeah.
And this guy said, listen, if a person doesn't pay, they won't pay attention.
Ooh.
And let me tell you something. That resonates. So, at that point, I cut off, because let me tell you, I had 20, 30 students that didn't pay because they couldn't afford it. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And every time I'm on the phone, every morning, hey, where you at? Why ain't you guys here at class? Hey, blah, blah, blah. We're got a tournament coming up next week. Why ain't you guys training? Because it didn't mean anything to them. You know what I'm saying? So nobody, that's the thing I learned here at this academy. Nobody trains for free. I've got a couple people that are on a scholarship program, but they work for that scholarship program. You're cleaning mats, you're washing windows, you're washing geese, whatever it takes. You know what I mean? But it's, like I say, it's a lot of people let me down in that sense that I expected it. You know, my gym there was, I mean, still is. I've just kind of paused it for a little bit because I want to rethink and reevaluate a lot of things. It's in one of the main tourist areas in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. So every week I would get tourists from all over the world.
Right.
You know, I had people from Russia, from France. I mean, just always, you know. And it was a good influence having, you know, getting different aspects of jiu-jitsu from all over the world and stuff. But the whole plan that I had for it to do as kind of this nonprofit, like nice, good thing for the community, man, it's hard to do good things. Man, really is. You would be surprised. People think like, oh man, it's so easy to go do good things, but you will get so much hate and you will get so much knockers and everything when you're trying to do something good. But if you want to go put up like a Cobra Kai style, you know, academy and just basically, you know, I don't want to single any academy out, but there's those kind out there that sell, you know, basically the gym logo shoes, this, that, and just make it a whole finance thing.
For sure.
You get support from everybody, you know, but you want to do a good thing for the community. It's like, nobody wants none of that.
No, dude, for sure. One thing that I've really had to remind myself, kind of like what you're talking about, is the difference in perspective when it comes to people, you know, because a lot of people will look at what you think is inherently good and they might think that it's inherently evil, right? And I respect those people. I respect the thought process and what they could have in their mind as a reason for it, right? And what I've realized with a lot of inherently good things, like people that think inherent good is evil, they've had one or two bad experiences with people that believe the same thing you did or whatever. And what I've always thought about, man, is you could just be hating what's good in those people. Yeah. You know, you
It's funny you say that. Is I seen an interview with this reporter. She was like a wartime reporter that reported like all over the world, different sides and everything. And she said, one thing I learned from all my years in reporting is nobody believes they're the bad guy.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, dude, that is the truth.
She said, like, I've sat down with Taliban people, and they don't think that they're doing the bad things. You know, this is something that in their mind, they're doing right. And here, you know, they look at us as the evil people. So it's like, you know, in everybody's story, you're a villain in someone's story.
Facts, man.
You know?
Oh, my gosh. I've had to accept that so hard, right?
Yeah.
I, like me personally, with everything I've gone through in life, because I have legitimately... This is the same but different, right? So I have been the bad guy in a lot of people's stories, right? I have not been an inherently good person my entire life. In fact, if I had to categorize myself as anything, I would categorize myself as a turd for a really long time, man. Yeah. And one of the things that I've heard from Jordan Peterson that has really helped me out, you know, not justify what I did, but how to accept what I did, is that everybody is a monster of their own design, right? Sure. Everybody has the capability of doing horrible things. And the real difference that I've learned in people's character is when you can realize that you do have that horrible capability and you choose against it. And I'm not even talking about, like, with us, it's commonplace because we think about it as an obvious thing. We are martial artists, you know, which inherently by design means that after a certain period of time, we have skills that could cause great bodily harm to other people, you know, but it's not even just that. It's in general, you know, it's emotionally, it's spiritually, because the worst pain I've ever felt in my entire life was not physically inflicted on me. The worst pain that I ever felt in my entire life was emotional pain, thriving, consistent emotional pain. Because the thing is you can take a painkiller, right? And you can cut out physical pain to an extent. Me and Nate were talking about it when he had his knee surgery, man. They gave him this bag that he had to put in his leg that literally numbed the entirety of his knee, right? To where he couldn't feel. And they said that it was because the physical pain was just that bad. But this is the thing, man. When it comes to emotional pain, what I've come to realize is you don't have that ability to cut that nerve off. You know, you can't cut your feelings off. You gotta feel them, and you gotta let them run their course. And if you don't, you're just gonna make it worse. That's where you start getting people that come with baggage, that come with all these problems in life into your life. And there's nothing wrong with baggage, man. But you got to be able to admit that is the thing that I've noticed between really high functioning people is they can admit their flaws, their deficiencies.
Absolutely.
They know where they have to stop, and that's where they draw their line. You know, boundaries like that, at least, are something that I've really been spending a lot of time focusing on with myself, man, because it's hard. It really is when you have to accept your own humanity.
Sure. Well, that's good that you say that right there, is the fact that you are at terms that you were, for lack of a better word, turd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So believe me, I'm not by any means, and anybody that knows me knows the person I am now is 100 way different than the person I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I think martial arts was something that changed me into that better person.
Yes.
Because I look at it a lot of times. I mean, I looked up to my brother. He was all I had. You know what I mean? And I could have easily went down that path, very easily. But the only difference was I found martial arts at a young age and he didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? He found the streets. And I had positive role models and positive people in the martial arts. I mean, like I say now, back then I was doing Taekwondo, all the other things, you know what I mean?
Right.
And stuff there. But I got positive influence from those instructors, things that made me not want to go out and break into a guy's home or do these kind of things, but like, to go back on what you were saying there, accepting, okay, I am a turd. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I can be a polished turd. You know what I'm saying? We can shine me up a little bit. You know what I mean? There's lots of room to build. You just have to be willing to want to build and put the work in. You know what I mean? Because every one of us comes in with baggage. And man, like you say, understanding that is like all the stuff that I told you right there. In my mind, I think to myself, like, man, I've lived a tough life. I've had this and this. But some guy can walk through the door that, you know what I mean? You don't know what he's going through.
Facts.
People just hold it and they hide it different. I talked to a woman one time, and she said this thing that your past is like burying a dead body in your yard. You know what I mean? You're always going to think of it resurfacing. It's never going to stay buried. If you and like when you really analyze that and think about it, like if you had a dude buried in your front yard back here, you'd be over here with this podcast with me thinking, man, it rained last night. I hope that hand don't stick up, or you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? I may seem like I have it all together, but believe me, it's always in the back. That body's always trying to resurface of the past that I've went through. So that, like I say, though, I use that as a driving force. I use that as something that motivates me when I start thinking to myself, like, this happened to me. I say, well, okay, great. What am I going to do now? What am I going to do to rise above that?
Bro, that is such a beautiful statement right there. I love that so much, because so often today do you find people that when they get hit with adversity, they just like switch to anger. You know, when people check their egos and stuff like that, they just go into this instantaneous oh, I'm not wrong, you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. Something I heard the other day that you just made me think about. There's the ultimate form of love in this world is listening, right? And this is why this cat says this, because everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got a comment they want to make or whatever. But the people that are really care, really good people, those are the people that aren't making comments counter to what you're saying, not immediately, at least, they're saying, I hear you, I understand you, they're validating their thought process and their beliefs and whatnot. And this is a huge point that I've had to come to in my life, is like not giving your opinion unless you're asked for it. Right? I struggle with this one all the time still. I really do.
This is tough for me, because let me tell you, my philosophy on that is completely different. I feel that people surround themselves with yes men. People surround themselves with people who tell them what they want to hear,
right?
Especially in our jiu-jitsu community.
For sure.
You know, people tell you, oh man, your guard passing is great. Your closed guard's great. Your this is great. But we don't want to be around a person that tells us the truth. You know what I mean? And you need to hear the truth if you want to get better. And that's even in life also. So, I mean, you've heard that a gazillion times. No one's hated more than the man who speaks the truth. You know what I mean? And that's what my professor, Abraham Marte, is one of the, I mean, let me tell you, he will tell you 100% how he feels. We went to Worlds together. I lost semifinals in Worlds. For the entire trip, I heard about all the mistakes that I made. You know what I mean? Now, you know, I submitted a couple people before that, but we didn't talk about that. That wasn't never nothing, you know? But, and let me tell you something. Over there in the Dominican Republic, he gets a lot of hate because he speaks his mind and he tells the truth. And a lot of people don't see him for that. Like, I think when I competed in Pan Ams, I was in the finals. And I submitted everybody to the finals at Pan Ams. Through this, between every match, he's on the phone and video chat with me. And he's got his wife in a gi showing me things that I need to do and stuff. You know what I mean? So like people, like I said, don't realize like the love, the guy, I mean, that's my true friend. He's the godfather of my daughter. You know what I mean? Because he'll tell me right now, like if he watches this podcast, he'll call me afterwards and say, Kaelum, you sounded stupid on this. You sounded stupid on this, instead of just telling me all the good things, which I want to hear the things I need to work on.
Right.
I need to hear my closed guard's not that great to have a great closed guard.
Really?
I've got a pretty damn good closed guard right now because I've heard it for years about how terrible it is.
Dude, I was about to say, that's like one of the things that like I've studied most about your matches is the way that you do your closed guard. He says you've got a bad closed guard.
Well, he did for a long time. Maybe, Abraham, if you're out there now, maybe it's gotten a little better. I don't know if it's to your approval yet. But now you're talking about, in my opinion, the guy who has the single best closed guard in the entire jiu-jitsu is Abraham Marte. Most underrated closed guard ever. Really? So, like, the things that this guy does from closed guard, like, believe me, I'm not even on a fraction. I'm going to bring him here for a seminar this year, and you guys are really
dude. I'm coming.
Experience. It's
Heck
crazy.
Yeah, dude. I would love to. So how'd you end up hooking up with him so he lives in the Dominican Republic his entire life?
Yep. He's a world champion. He's won world champion at every belt. And he did that off of training with white and blue belts his whole life in the Dominican Republic. You know, he would make an occasional trip to Brazil and things like that, but it's a true genius of martial arts. Right. You know, he really studies and invokes it, every aspect of it. And he just, his knowledge for it, like I say, is really, improved my game a lot. We got hooked up because I moved there for work. I was in the casino business. And, when I came there was nowhere to train jiu-jitsu. Right. I mean, literally nothing. So I had my son come over, bring some mats. We had a penthouse apartment, and you know, over there at penthouse apartment, you have rooftop access. So we just put mats on the rooftop in this 100-some degree sun blaring on us. Dang. And just trained jiu-jitsu. Well, one day they opened a Muay Thai academy down the road. So I ran in there. I'm telling them, hey, listen, they didn't even know what jiu-jitsu is. I said, look, I'll teach it for free. I just need a place to train. You know what I mean? So, okay, good. It started building up, and then I went and opened my own academy. Well, at the time, I was still, I was kind of floating. I had trained in Chicago for about 5-6 years. So I was floating between instructors, and Abraham being there in the Dominican, it was just a right fit. You know, yeah. He come and did a seminar. He brought Joao Rocha back when Joao won Worlds at brown belt and all. And he just, his access, he's given me access to some really high level people just from that relationship. You know, we've had Cyborg at my academy. We've had Hidalgo, Sean Roberts, David Garmo. I mean, some really Joao Rocha. I mean, in my opinion, Joao's one of the top guys in the world, you know. And just having that access to these guys, it's been really beneficial to all of us.
You know, man, that brings me back to something Jimmy said to me whenever we were doing his podcast. He said that God blesses you with people, not things, right? Sure. And I religious intentions beside, when he said that to me, it really just resonated with me, because it's like everything that you receive comes from somebody, right? All physical things that you receive come from somebody, whether it be something that they give you or something that like a book or the opportunity to do something, you know, it all comes from people, man. And that the fact that you've had somebody like that in your life, man, that's awesome, because not everybody gets the opportunity to deal with something like that. Me and our cultural diversity advisor or representative, Quentin, if you watch this, I'm sorry, I can't remember what your title is. I'm in college right now, right? I'm going to the College of Coastal Georgia, and I go to the Cultural Diversity Center all the time and talk to this dude, or at least I try to, and make it around him, because he talks about marginalized people a lot, and a lot of the problems that are going on in the community revolving around them, the disparities that they face on a regular basis. And for me, it really just comes down to a lack of access of like really good people, you know, because we were talking about like the culture and people being raised by, you know, the culture and stuff like that. It's a huge problem that I don't think gets enough acknowledgement, is that there's not enough focus on personal development in the world today. You know, people don't sit there and, like how me and you were talking about how we are challenging ourselves, right? The first time I had ever heard it in a way that you had put it, or similar to it, is when I heard it from Tim Ferris, right? And I just found out about Tim Ferris within the last 2 or 3 years. He calls it fear setting, or no, I'm sorry, he calls it a red team, referring to a red team. Tools of the Titans. This is a book plug for the day. They'll probably be the only one, because this is more of a Jujitsu podcast today.
Also, Breathe by Rickson Gracie.
Breathe by Rickson Gracie. 2 very, very good books. Tools of the Titans is... Are you familiar with Tim Ferriss? Tim Ferriss is one of my favorite people in the entire world. I love Tim Ferriss because he finds people, the top performers from every industry you can think of. He brings them onto his podcast and he just talks to them, right? And I can't remember the gentleman that he was talking to. It's in his books, Tools of the Titans. It's the second person that he talks about in the wealth section of Tools and the Titans. I cannot remember his name, but he talks about having a red team, and what it is kind of like what you're talking about. It's like when you have a group of people around you that are pressure testing everything that you're talking about, everything that you're doing, you know, and that's a concept that changes people's lives.
Absolutely.
I don't have a friend group anymore. I have a tribe of mentors. That's what I refer to my people as, because I am the runt, and I want to always be the runt in any room that I'm in. And that's not because of lack of me trying. That's because I want to be continually bringing in the best people that I can find and bringing them into my life and taking the good stuff that they have to offer me and then giving back to them in some way, shape, or form. You know, that's what's gotten me to where I'm at today. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm at the peak of anything, but dude, I am the happiest I've ever been in my entire life right now. And I feel like there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah, well, that's huge. I mean, think about what you just said right there. The happiest you've ever been in your life. That's a huge statement to make. And like I say, whatever it is that's got you to that point,
dude, thank you.
It's working.
I appreciate
you know what I'm saying?
that,
That's
man.
perfect.
That's awesome for sure, man. Yeah, dude. I don't know. Man, thank you. Like, seriously, thank you for the opportunity to interview you today, man.
Oh, yeah, it's been a pleasure, definitely.
Because, like, this has been really great to get to know you, and the vulnerability that you've shown me today, being able to talk about your family more openly and whatnot, that's not something that you see as commonplace, and that's the kind of stuff that I want to make more common, you know, because people have a hard time talking about the hard things in life, right? And they have a hard time opening up about it. And I'm a firm believer that if we as a society could open up and just show that we care even a little bit more, that it could stop a lot of the problems that we're having emotionally in today's society. And I just want to say thank you for, without me even having to ask you, for being a champion of that today by having your own vulnerability and transparency, man. So seriously, thank you so much for opening up today. With that being said, man, I know you've got some stuff that you got to get going on today and you got to get doing. You said you got another one going up. Is there anything that you want to plug at the end? Just say,
no, just, how thankful I am for any sponsors and stuff that we have. Benjamin's Barber Lounge over in Little Wissy. Yeah. They supported us on this fight we had right here with Dustin Hawkins. Mm-hmm. Big shout out to Dustin there. And Roll Bliss, always, man, manufacturers of the best kimonos, custom kimonos in the jiu-jitsu game. Think Fit Apparel, they always keep you.
I love Think Fit.
Keep me looking good and sharp, so just anybody that supported Team Kalista on the way, and like I say, we're a growing team. We're a year over here at Team Kalista USA, about a year now, and we've accomplished a lot of stuff, and we're looking to take over,
Heck yeah, man. Dude, with that being said, I'm going to give my personal plug to Kaelum, man. He's always been a good guy, and this is always the dude that you've seen today. This isn't like a facade or anything like that. I've talked to Kaelum in the gym while we were training before, and just chilling, doing whatever, kind of like this right now, but without the cameras and the publicity, obviously. Like, I've talked to him personally and had the opportunity to interact with him. This is Kaelum Kalista, man. And if this is the kind of vibe that you're looking for in Liberty County, if growing and being a better person is something you want to do, if you want to be a part of a family, have a little more fun, or dude, if you just want to learn how to snuggle just a little bit better, just a little bit better, Kaelum Kalista gets the Wade Nobilio Gold Star, green light, appreciation, love. Come check this dude out. I know I'm going to in the future. With that being said, man, I'm going to leave you how I at least leave you. Live life and learn your lessons. Be dope and earn your blessings.
Os.